to know where their true allegiances lie on any side of the aisle,
and this level
in their bank
is
account.
really, really cool.
We get another spate of brief trans panic.
But
like 3 years, and I've seen all this mess, and it starts with what's going on with our family, with our kids, and with this crazy idea of gender. They want everybody to be the same, and it's you can't make it up what's going on up here. You really can't. But I'm for school choice.
These bizarre fears about gender and trans in kids get brought up continually throughout the conference, but uniting these discussions is a distinct feeling that the people talking about them don't know anything more than to let the audience know they think they're bad things. Tuberville additionally has a history of these behaviors. There are no sources, no studies cited, even bullshit ones from their own side, no data or statistics. They just say Democrats think boys can be girls, or make a joke like, call me old-fashioned, but I think women's sports shouldn't have men in them, and will get raucous applause. The crowd merely just applauds for mentioning woke ideology. This is the kind of jangling keys mentality we will see again and again, though interestingly, while this is a far-right talking point that has taken over the last few years, elections and data continually show these radical anti-trans positions aren't broadly popular outside of right-wing circles and don't win elections. He tries to link it back to Christian values because everything here is towing the party line. Everyone here is MAGA and needs to be pushing Christian nationalism, but with Trump as their savior instead of JC. And this is kind of how most of these talks go. They just say something, making sure to fearmonger about it with no proof, or just throwing out already accepted and well-known conservative talking points as proof. There's no deeper analysis to any issues here. There's nothing below the thin surface veil of Democrat thing is bad. The thing I noticed though, that's enough to elicit literal and genuine rumbles of fear from some audiences over ridiculous and inaccurate claims. He then, of course, pivots to culture war issues. He brings up Caitlyn Jenner, which leads to misgendering in the audience when referring to Caitlyn. And he pivots from trans fears back to Donald Trump. This is another commonality between so many of these speeches. Being CPAC, it's not too wild that so many would openly endorse Trump as the presumptive nominee, but what is odd is how almost any issue is made to pivot into an endorsement. He then talks more about the FBI and deep state taking away kids from their parents. He advocates conservatives taking over school boards because they hate Christianity. And then on that tip, he spreads fears about persecuting churches. None of these things are happening or will happen, unless those churches and parents are doing something illegal, by the way. Unless they're talking about this Washington bill, which we talked about being misrepresented in my hate church infiltration video. So no, there aren't any Christians or conservatives being punished for their beliefs. There are, however, states that are punishing parents who get their trans kids proper health care. But we won't see him talking about those parental rights. These things, like the fears about transgenderism, seem to elicit more reaction from the audience than even talking about economic issues in China. To the audience, these issues have been cemented as something directly happening to them right now. They think these things are genuine threats to the point of drawing reactions when they hear them mentioned. He ends his speech by saying communists have taken over the country.
Go back in your communities and take over what they've stolen from us. It's the rights of the American people, the greatest country ever. And again, we're not going to have many more chances. I hope we can get it back to this point. Now, the next 10 months is really going to be a test for all of us. It's going to be a huge test. They're coming after you. They're going to come after you. They're going to look at, they're going to vilify you. You're going to see everything in the world said about Trump, local conservative politician.
Next up was Mark Robinson. Robinson has also advocated trans women be arrested for using the correct bathroom for their gender representation. He has repeatedly called queer and trans people filth. That's low on the list of slightly worrying other things he said, like blaming a globalist conspiracy for Trump losing in 2020, and that the movie Black Panther was created by a Jew to cheat black people out of their shekels. And that's a quote. He also said black people owe reparations for slavery. Not they are owed, they owe reparations for slavery. I'll be real though, this guy is a good speaker. Of all the evangelical wannabes, he seems like an actual fire and brimstone preacher. And his rhetorical arguments felt powerful because of how he successfully appealed to emotion. After the boring talk from transphobic Alfred E. Newman, Robinson brought down the house comparatively. I should mention by now that we are 3 for 3 on transgenderism being brought up in derisive and oversimplified tones. It should be noted by the way these folks argue There's no wiggle room for any good ones like Caitlyn Jenner or Blair White. These definitions leave any trans person as simply a man playing dress up, living as a threat to women everywhere. But then most of his speech is about the media not liking him. I wonder why he would be such a big Trump fan. Pretty soon after, we see him turn it into a literal sermon. And then he gets to discussing freedoms and military victory, and this is where he's a pretty darn good speaker. I actually feel something. Like, I believe that he at least believes the crazy shit he says, which is more than I can say for a lot of the other speakers I'd see. When he gets off stage, they play a MAGA hammocks commercial, which just, I don't know, man. Like, what do I say about this, honestly?
GG.
The next talk was called Catfight, Kamala versus
Incredibly
Michelle,
cool level.
run by a
This
guy
is-
named Matt Boyle, who,
Yeah.
like,
Nexus
honestly,
put it
he looks like a
best.
guy named Boyle.
Insane.